Welcome to the Autism in Black podcast, where we focus on all things autism and the Black parent experience. Our goal is to always educate, support, and empower parents to advocate for not only their children, but themselves. I'm Maria Davis-Pierre, a licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and America's #1 autism advocate for Black parents. I'm the founder and CEO of Autism in Black, Inc., where we aim to include the excluded.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Autism in Black podcast. I'm your host, Maria Davis-Pierre, licensed mental health counselor in the state of Florida and the CEO and founder of Autism in Black, Inc. And today we have a very special guest. Today we are here with Jamilah, who is an education consultant and IEP coach for special education teachers, helping them to balance being a teacher and case manager so they can level up their work at home. She also helps parents navigate the often complex IEP process, which we all know can be extremely difficult, with more peace and ease. When Jamilah is not leading professional development for teachers or coaching clients about the IEP, she can be found traveling the world, watching a Broadway show, enjoying a live performance, or participating in community service. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have you. You know, we spent a little bit of time talking before starting to record, so I'm just excited about your session for the 4th annual virtual Autism in Black conference, and so happy to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much. I'm like I was telling you like earlier, I was just so excited when I became aware of Autism in Black. I was just like, oh my God, yes, it's something for us and it's by us and it's like supporting, students with special needs. So I just thought that was just so unique because I had never seen, I want to say, anything like this. So I was just like, oh my gosh. And I'm like, oh, they have a conference. I was like, oh, let me see if I can, get involved with that. So thank you so much for just having, just creating Autism in Black and then creating this platform so that way, professionals like myself can come and participate and support you as well. So thank you.
This episode of the Autism in Black podcast is sponsored by Amazon, our title sponsor for the 4th annual Autism in Black conference, and Grantmakers for Girls of Color, our gold sponsor for the 4th annual Autism in Black conference. Special thanks to Amazon and Grantmakers for Girls of Color for their sponsorship and making an impact.
Thank you. So I want to jump right into it because I know that you have a lot of vast expertise, and I know the people wanted me to jump right into the meat of it. So with over 20 years of experience in special education and your work as an IEP coach, you bring a wealth of knowledge to the table. Can you share with our listeners a bit about your journey and what inspired you to become an education consultant and an IEP coach?
Sure, absolutely. So I have a little sister that has an intellectual disability, and I want to say just everything that I have done she has been like the source of it. Um, because just my journey, growing up with her and, back in the 90s, it was like you didn't really have any much information about disabilities, or especially in the Black community. That is not talked about. It's not like you're getting educated about things like that. So watching my mom kind of go through that journey and then learn, and then when I decided to, like, oh, I'm going to major special education, I didn't want to at first because I'm like, who wants to be a teacher? I don't want to deal with these bad kids and that was just me being honest. That was me.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to say, when God has a calling on your life, like, you can fight it all you want to, but God's gonna get you where he wants you to be. So my sister was the reason why I went into special education, because initially I was just like, okay, people, children like her need quality educators, especially quality educators of color. So I was just like, that was like my biggest reason. And then I was just like, initially I was just like, well, I still might do what I'm initially going to school for, because I wanted to go into pediatrics. I loved science and everything. But I want to say when I got a work study job and I was working with children, I was working in the school, I really loved it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I really like doing this. And I'm just like, should I change my major? Am I going to do it? But then I actually did. I actually changed, my major. I gave in, I was like, all right, God, I'm just gonna let you guide me, you know what I mean? And it's like, oh man, it's been 20 years, since then. But she was the ultimate reason why I went into special education. And then once I started working, once I became a teacher, seeing a lot of students who had IEPs look like me, and then especially also working in special education, I have see a lot of Black boys, with IEPs.
Yep.
And then just learning the whole process myself as I'm having IEP meetings with parents, it's like a lot of them, it's like they're relying on me to, I want to say, guide them through the process. And me as the teacher, I'm just like, no one told you this already? No one no one explained this to you. You know how when you go to the doctor, let's say you hear a diagnosis, you're asking questions like, and then your doctor, majority of the time say, oh, you need to go to this, you need to go to this specialist, you need to go here, here, here. But that doesn't happen at all. And I mean, I had parents, caregivers just saying, "Oh my God, thank you so much. Thank you so much." And I'm like, you could take the, I'm happy to hear the thank you, but I'm like, why you keep telling me thank you? They were like, you're the first person that explained this to me. And I'm like, but this is like your fourth IEP. Like for me, it was hard for me to understand that and to comprehend it. Like, what do you mean? And she's like, and it was just unanimous. No one ever explained this to me.
Yeah.
And then me being a teacher is like, I wasn't just a teacher, I'm a case manager and I'm a teacher. And it's like a lot of people don't understand that. And that's a lot for, first of all, it's a lot being a teacher, period. Because I want to say you are a jack of all trades. Like, I mean, you do so much, you wear so many hats. And to add case management on top of that, and then when you start your role, no one is coming in to, depending on where you teach, no one is coming in to show you how to do this and how to do that. It's like, oh, you have your SPED cert. Oh, okay, here's your caseload. Here's your kids. Here's the subjects you're gonna teach. And it's like, throw you into that ocean and you're gonna sink or you're gonna swim. And that's and I hate to describe it that way, but that's just how it is. And I was just like, okay, I have to swim. I was like, I gotta figure this out. I have to because I'm just like, I'm like, okay, I got to figure this out. And I learned that I'm very organized because I had to be organized in my job, because if I wasn't, I would have drowned. And I realized how good I was with organization. I realized how good I was with creating systems for myself and understanding that I needed systems in my life so that way I can just be as thorough and productive as possible. And if I don't have it, I'm like, okay, this is chaotic. I'm gonna need you to do boom, 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 because I can't work like this, So working in special education, it was just, I'm a teacher, I'm a case manager, and then I'm realizing I didn't even realize that I was an advocate, so to speak, for children with special needs. I didn't even view myself as that. Like, I really did not. I was like, oh, I'm a SPED teacher. I'm just a SPED teacher, And I want to say, after I left, I was teaching in the Philadelphia school district because I'm from Philly. I left the Philadelphia school district and I went to the suburbs. And I made that change because, when you're working in the urban school district, it's like I just got so tired of going without and having to figure it out and having to make it work.
Yes.
I want to say that just really, really tired me out. And I didn't want to become stagnant in what I was doing. And because I knew I wanted to grow more, I wanted to learn as much as I could in SPED. And I'm just like, I appreciated all the skills because I had to figure it out myself, or my team and we had to figure it out. We had to lean on each other. We had to make it work. It was just like, oh, I've acquired a lot of skills, but I'm like, I'm tired of working like this. And I tell people, it's like having to produce this pitcher of lemonade, but you don't have your ingredients or materials, but you got to produce this lemonade every single year. And I was just like, I'm tired of working like that. So, and it wasn't like, oh, let me go to the suburbs because it's better. I was just like, let me go see what it's like over there, really. And I did that. And at first, I didn't want to. I was like, I feel like I'm giving up on my kids if I do that. But I was at this job fair, and it's specifically for educators of color because the suburban districts, they want more educators of color in their districts. And they had an information session, and one of the teachers, she stood up. She was like, listen, I was born and raised in the suburbs. I never had a black teacher ever.
Mm.
And that kind of pushed me. Was like, okay, go ahead. Because I'm like, there are black kids out there too. And when I started working in the suburbs, I was like, I fell back in love with teaching because I felt like I was teaching again, and I was able to acquire more skills, professional development. And then I started doing emotional support while I was there. And I'm just like, the whole time, I'm just like, man, I wish I could take all these resources and go back to my previous school, because prior to me leaving, it was like, you can say I was doing emotional support, but it wasn't emotional support. It was learning support. And I was working with a group of boys who they did not require an autistic support placement, but they needed social skills group. They needed that. And I tell people, when you are a special education teacher, they don't care what certification you come in on. You have a SPED cert, you are a learning support expert, you're an emotional support expert, you're autistic support expert, you're everything. You're expert for everything. So they don't care what you like to do. No, you have SPED certification, so you're going to do this. And I was so nervous because I'm like, I've never done social skills groups before. I don't know. I'm just like, well, I was like, where's the behavior specialist? Shouldn't they be doing this? I was like, that's not that's not my specialty. That's not what I do. But again, I'm a sped teacher, so I have to do it. So I was just online every week. I was looking at their IEPs to see what they needed. And then I even asked them, like, what do you need? You tell me what you need. And these were about, I want to say it's about 6 of them. I met them in the 3rd grade. And then I started working with them in the 4th grade, all the way up to 6th grade. And when I tell you, that was like the best group I've had. It was like amazing just seeing those boys grow. Like, they told me they wanted to work on how to make friends. How do I handle bullies? You know what I mean? They even was telling me about documentaries. Like, oh, it was this documentary called The Bully Effect. They was telling me about it. We watched it like, it was like the best thing. And then also teaching them strategies on what do I need to do if I get angry? What do I need to do if I'm in a situation and I really don't like how it's making me feel? Like, what can I do? And then to actually see them accepting, receiving the information, because so many times as a teacher, sometimes you feel like they're not taking it in, but then something will happen and you will see like, oh my God, they are listening. They are, because they're holding each other accountable. That was just like great. And just learning so much. And then going from there to going into being a SPED supervisor, because I was when I was in the suburbs, I was just like, I was getting to the point where I felt like and I taught 7th grade English, and I was an emotional support teacher. And I felt like me and my team, we were constantly cleaning up the mess from the previous school. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, I'm going to get fired for saying something, or something's going to happen, because I'm like, I'm tired of cleaning up people's mess. Like, and what did it for me was, I made like this whole reel about why I left teaching and went into supervision. There was a student I had in 7th grade, and I want to say the first week, I could see all her behaviors, but nothing was documented in her IEP. So I went to her case manager. I'm like, her previous case manager, I'm like, what's going on? I didn't see anything in her IEP, like, but I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this, I'm seeing this. And then that's when she said, oh yeah, she da 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 da, she da 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 da. And I'm like, why isn't that documented in her IEP?
I mean, that's just, to me, I think, oh, you've said a lot that just resonates with me. I don't know where to start, because a lot of people know how I feel about school system, and I'm not, against, the schools, the schools per se, and the teachers. I love teachers and everything. It's the system. The system really aggravates me, because it's failing not only these children, their parents as well.
Yes.
You are not. I worked at a school before I even had kids. I was working at the school as a therapist. and they would put me in the IEP meetings. I'm like, I don't even know why I'm here. I don't know what I'm doing. I didn't get any training. I had to go and get the training.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I had my daughter and had our first IEP meeting. I'm like, okay, well, what's going on here? Nobody explained the process to me. I had to go and learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And the fact that you are having such important meetings and you're not explaining this process to people that are advocates and participants and professionals that are supposed to be helping, and two, the parents who are part of the team members, and parents are mentioned more than any other team member in federal guidelines and anybody else, and you're not explaining this process to them. It's a disservice. Why are we not explaining these processes? So
exactly.
now that to me is just so baffling and so frustrating.
So backwards. It's so backwards because I'm just like, and a lot of times what I would do is with parents, I would be like, oh, do you have any questions? And some of them, a lot of parents sometimes be like, oh, no, I don't have anything. And I'm like, well, I'm just going to explain this part because I do this for everybody. That's how I would come, across with it. But it was just like what aggravated me the most in that situation was that student sat for a whole year without additional support. And it really baffled me that, and then also the behavior specialists that did group therapy for my students, my caseload that I had, we started just gathering data ourselves, and then come to find out they had meetings about this girl. They had meetings. No one told us. I'm like, you had us starting from scratch when we didn't have to.
Exactly.
It was, and then for her to 7th grade was 1 year. How did I manage to collect data, have meetings with her parents, talk about other possible classes that she can do? I said, let's see what's gonna work for her. Cause I'm like, right now, gen ed, just straight gen ed, I'm like, she needs something else. You know what I mean? And then we moved from all gen ed to all code talk classes. You know what I mean? Because she was a bright girl. I mean, she was a bright girl, but it was just things going on in her life. And it was just like, how did I manage to go from that, where she was in 6th grade, and we were able to change her classes, get her group therapy, and add individual counseling to her IEP within the year. And then I was just like, you just didn't do your job. And I've never really, I want to say, had to look at a colleague, like even though we weren't in the same school, we're in the same district, so you're a colleague. It's like I've never had to question a colleague's work ethic, that you're not doing your job. And I'm like, that's the conclusion I can come to. I can't justify what you did. I can't justify it at all. You just did not do your job. And then you're making extra work for me to do. And that's what I was just like, you know what? I told my principal, I'm like, I have to go up in the grades, or I have to step out and do a different position. And I decided the opportunity presented itself for me to be a SPED supervisor. And I'm like, I'm going to do that because I did have a desire to learn the other side, to be on the other side of special education, not on the teacher side. And then being on the other, I think when I became a SPED supervisor, that's when I felt like I was like, oh, I am an advocate. I am advocating for these families, for these students, because I was in Brooklyn. I was in Brooklyn when I was a SPED supervisor, and the way I just supported the parents, I'm just like, I went above and beyond. I did, because I'm just like, there's no way. I know this is not in the job description, but understanding where I was, and this goes back to whatever profession you have to have a connection or build rapport with whoever you are serving. And me being mindful, okay, I'm in Brooklyn, I'm in Flatbush, there's a huge Caribbean population where I am. I'm like, okay, let me make sure that I can communicate with parents. Let me make sure they understand. And I'm just like, okay, who in here speaks Haitian Creole? If you know what I mean, if I can't if I can't find a translator, okay, I know somebody in my school speaks Haitian Creole. You know what I mean? Like, just being mindful of that, like, and then also reminding teachers, I'm like, they were like, well, I'm not getting anything back from the parents. I'm like, are you sure the parent speaks English? You know what I mean? Just making my teachers be aware of that. I said they may be relying on their child to tell them XYZ. So have Mr. So and so or Miss So and so call home and let them know what you need them to do or what you want them to do. You know what I mean? Um, Helping parents request reevaluations. Oh my gosh. When I
That
tell you,
part alone is
when I tell you,
whole
Maria,
process.
I'm gonna send you an email, me being me. And I'm organized. I'm like, listen, I was like, step one, step two, step three. This is what I need you to do. This is who you got to send it to. CC me and CC this person and do all these things. And then it was one parent. I was like, I'm going to email you something. At the end of the day, just give me your phone, okay? Because she picks up her son. Well, she picks up her son, and she had two children at the lower school. So, but she's like, hey, Miss Bashir. I'm like, hey. I'm like, give me your phone. And I sent it to because I was just like, me sending these steps is too much
Mm-hmm.
for her. And I know she's gonna email me like, what did I gotta do, Miss Fish? And I was just like, it's easy for me. I'm gonna send it to you. Don't worry about it. Just give me your phone at the end of the day. So that way it's being sent by her, even though it's really me, you know? Um, I want to say when I did that role, I truly felt okay, I'm an advocate now. I'm
Mhm.
stepping into advocacy because I never viewed myself stepping into being an advocate. And then going into consulting, it kind of just it came. I want to say consulting came from me. I self-published a book because of her, and it was just what it was like growing up with my little sister
Mhm.
and telling it from my perspective, the sibling, because you always hear from parents, you hear from caregivers, but I'm just like, siblings are impacted. I don't want to say impacted the most, but I'm like, especially in the Black community,
It's
it's
very.
and it's just like, you know how if you're the oldest or you're the oldest in the house, you gotta help, you gotta do that, you gotta. It's just a different experience, and I was like, let me speak to that, and I had people, asking me questions. I'm like, well, you can't be picking my brain for free. You know what I mean?
Hey,
That
listen,
was the truth. That was
and
the truth.
it is, it is the truth because the knowledge that I mean, you could easily go to Google and look what you need, get what you need, but when you are
Right.
getting it from professionals who do this work, you especially Black professionals, minority professionals, you do need to pay us for our time. This is our expertise. So
Right.
and I know that your workshop for the fourth annual Autism in Black conference is based on that, because of her and intertwined journey of sibling
Yes.
advocacy, which we're very excited about. And if you all want that full presentation, make sure you're getting your tickets to the fourth annual Autism in Black conference. You can click the link in the show notes or go directly to autisminblack.org/conference 2024. Now, I just want to share a teensy bit with the people about your workshop. We ain't gonna give them too much because they got to come to the conference.
Of course.
But you're going to be talking about or exploring the interconnected roles of one being a sibling to a Black individual who has a disability, an educator for Black autistic students, an advocate for families navigating special education. Can you just share maybe one insight for us into that workshop?
Um, sure, absolutely. Let me make sure I don't give too much because you get to talking about something, you just start going. Um, but the reason I decided to name it that, actually, I wasn't even sure how I was gonna come. Like, what am I gonna speak about? And my friend was like, Jamilah, look at what you've done. You're a sibling. Think of how you connect with your parents. Your parents that you work with, I want to say the sense of relief when they know you have a sibling. It's not just you, a professional coming in. You have experience, you have that family connection. You've taught students, Black students who have autism and other disabilities. You are in the community. You support the community and educating them on how you can best support students. So it's like it was kind of like actually when I applied, it was kind of like a full circle moment, like, oh my gosh, like this is all connected, and this is just how I'm able to serve clients and able to serve my community. I want to say one of the points that I'm really going to stress in my presentation is the need for building strong support networks, because it is extremely important for family, school, and community to truly work together. And it's not easy, and I'm not going to sit up here and pretend like it is. I want to say it really depends on where you live. I'm going to
Exactly.
be honest, because even in Philadelphia, there are certain sections, like you go into the Northeast, oh my gosh, there's all these different agencies out there, versus if you're in North Philly, if you're in another section, it's like, okay, you truly got to travel to get support, for your kid, or if you don't know someone who can help you. So that is one of the biggest things I'm going to stress, on top of other things. But having that network, having that support, it is so vital to the success of our families, of our communities, because without it, it's like you are just lost and you're just going about this blind.
Yes. Yes.
And you can't afford to do this blindly, to go on this blindly. You can't afford to be in denial. You can't afford to even, we can't afford it, because one, um just a lot of times autism is viewed as a white disability, a white boy. A lot of white boys have autism. You know what I mean? That's how it's viewed. And that was one of the I did a panel. It was called A Different Kind of Love. And it was a panel of siblings who have, we're siblings of someone that has a disability. And the psychologist, Dr. Robert, is it Nassif? Is that right? Yes. He was just like, autism it's a white boy's disability. That's the visual you get. And
That's the
you're not thinking about no black nobody, no
nope.
brown nobody with autism. And then even me being in the school system, seeing how our children, that's not even the first diagnosis that gets considered, versus my white students. It's like,
Exactly.
oh, you have an autism diagnosis. Oh, okay. Or like, oh, you know what? We're thinking autism. We're gonna do da 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 da. Whereas when it comes to students of color, it's like
Behavioral.
learning disability. Oh, you got ODD, or oh, it's an emotional disability. It autism is
Exactly.
never the first one. It's like, I'm not going to say it's like, oh, you can't have autism. It's kind of like you're a behavior problem or you're a learning problem. It's not like no, it's nothing deeper than that. And then don't let you be a girl, because you're really going to go under the radar.
Hello, a
You
late
know,
diagnosed autistic adult right here. So yes.
right. So that network, and having that strong network and that support, it's vital, because one, you have someone that you can speak to. You have someone that you can relate to. You have someone who can just be supportive of you. And then also, as a coming from a family where we supported, someone with a disability, being able, when you have someone in your network who you can trust, it's like, you know what? I can call you and ask you, can you come in? Can I bring my child for like an hour or two? I just wanna have some time for myself, or I just want to take a nap, or I just want to be able to go, you need a break.
Exactly.
And that's honest too. And people don't talk about that enough. Parents, the person that is caring for these individuals, the family, everybody needs a break from time to
Hello.
time. And you need to have people in your village, in your network, that okay, they're going to take care of my child and look out for my child. I don't have to worry. And that is one of the, I want to say, such a huge sigh of relief for any family, when there is an agency, there's an organization, there's a group, or there's a individual who will care for your child the way that you do and make sure they are safe.
Mm-hmm.
That is everything.
It is, and
It's everything.
I'm excited that you're going to be delving into that. As we wrap up, thank you for being on the podcast. Thank you for sharing all of these gems. I know that our attendees, it resonated with me in all aspects of being a professional, of being an autistic adult, of raising autistic children. So I know the listeners it's going to resonate with them. And I know they're going to want to rush to your site, your social media to, get your services, get your workshops. So can you share with the people where to find you, how to get in touch with you, some of your course offerings?
Sure. So we are at the IEP Coach LLC on all social media. On YouTube, Jamilah, the IEP Coach. We go live every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on all of our platforms. Our website is www.theiepcoachllc.com. We're pretty consistent across everything. It's just easier for people to find you. So definitely follow us on our social media, engage with us. We're very responsive. We have our Master the IEP course that came from literally being in IEP meetings and being asked so many questions and having people say, "Oh my God, thank you so much for explaining." And I'm like, there needs to be some way that we can teach people about the IEP. So we created our Master IEP course, and it comes with our Master IEP Volume 1 and 2 ebooks in that course. And we also have, and that course is for anyone who wants to learn about the individualized education plan. We start with the invitation. And actually, before the invitation, we start with the invitation and we go all the way through all the sections of the IEP, including the no rep, including what you need to do if you disagree with, if you don't approve within the IEP, what you need to do. And we also have our Speducators Rise group coaching program. That was a true labor. Both of them have been true labors of love because one, just being able to educate people about the IEP, I don't get tired talking about that. And then also me being a former teacher, our Speducators Rise group coaching program is the coaching that I wish I had. I had to, a lot of it, in my experience, I had to lean on this teacher. I'm going over here to learn from this teacher. I'm going over here. And it's just everything I wish I had in a coaching program. And who else would you rather go to than someone who has been in your shoes and actually been there, done that? And not just for like 3-5 years. No, I was in a classroom for over 14 years. So, you know what I mean? I know this, you know what I mean? And to be able to support other teachers is truly rewarding for us. So those are some things that we have, and you can go to our website, www.theiepcoachllc.com.
Perfect. And we will have all of those links in our show notes as well. Jamilah, thank you so much for being on the podcast, for being a speaker at our conference. I'm giving you your flowers because
thank you.
We appreciate you. We appreciate what you do. So thank you so much.
And thank you so much, Maria. When I tell you your platform, I was just like, oh my gosh, like you have no idea. I'm so happy that it exists. You know what I mean? I'm so happy that it exists.
Thank you so much. And for all of our listeners, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Autism in Black podcast. And we'll catch you on the next episode. Have a good one.
If you haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast so you can always be notified when a new episode drops. To get the resources shared on today's podcast and the show notes, make sure to go to autisminblack.org/podcast. Don't forget to share your takeaways from the show on your IG stories and Twitter using our official hashtag AIBpod so that we can find and share them. If you want to continue the conversation from today's episode, join our Autism in Black podcast Facebook community at facebook.com/group/AIBpod.